Hey guys, and welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm Jack, and I'm here with Liam.
How's it going?
And today signals the start of a new series, and one that I think we're both excited about because I think we've been very Supermassive Games heavy since the birth of this channel. But today we are moving to Telltale's The Walking Dead. Episode 1, A New Day. But I think before we get into all of that, mate, I think we've got to have a quick chat, haven't we, as to why this game's so significant for us and even in our personal relationship as well. So yeah, do you want to take it away first?
Of course. I think firstly we have to mention the fact that it is a decade old, isn't it? I think it was a 2012 release. So yeah, it's been 10 years since this game was created, and it's such a significant game to me because I've always loved these choice-based games, but the only ones I ever really played were Quantic Dream, in Fahrenheit and Heavy Rain. So when this game kind of rocked up, I was so intrigued by it. I think I played the demo to death where Lee hops over the fence and you go around Clementine's house. I must have played that like 10 times before I got the game. I think I was so eager to play it that I think I watched a YouTube playthrough before I even got stuck in myself. But yeah, this game was just insane to me. I think I got really tired of just gameplay and shooters, and this was like that game that was just so refreshing on the scene. It got a lot of hate because it won awards. I specifically remember a comment saying how sad that Press X to Save Clementine just won Game of the Year. But, you know, like, we love these games and we're always going to meet fans like that. Yeah, Jack, how did you find out about the Walking Dead game and what does the game mean to you?
Wow, I'm glad that you had such a positive start with it, really, because for me, I was visiting a mate elsewhere in Essex, and he had it on his iPad, and he was like, "Oh, check this game out, The Walking Dead." And I remember looking at the graphics, and back then I was like really into your Call of Duty and FIFA, and I was really into sort of like your top end graphics and your big budget games, and I still am now, but obviously I've got a soft spot for these story ones now. And I was like, oh, let's give it a go. I didn't really, the comic book thing didn't really grab me, but I was like, let's give it a go. And he said to me, look, the choices that you make in the game shape the narrative. And I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. And I started playing, and to my complete surprise, it just took me in. And I remember for the time that I was there, like, I was on this iPad, like, playing this game, like, whenever we sort of like weren't busy doing anything. And yeah, it's just stayed with me since. Like, for me anyway, this game is my introduction to choice-based games, so I'll always have this special place in my heart, really, because in terms of this channel, like, if I didn't play that game, this channel might not be here. So yeah, like, really surprised that how well it went against my original expectations before playing it, mate.
Of course, and just I think it's probably worth, like, so the fans can know. Are you a fan of the Walking Dead TV show, and did you watch it prior?
No, to this day I've still not seen it. So I mean, I know you haven't you, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I stopped around season 7. I, like many others, got bored and just had to throw in the towel at some point. If you're a diehard fan out there, I'm really sorry. It's the way I felt. A lot of 45-minute filler episodes, and I just really couldn't handle it anymore. But yeah, in the early days, I was obsessed with The Walking Dead, and which is why the game did a really good job of giving a nod to the comics, because it's inspired by the comics, not the TV show, which is why the graphics are the way that they are. But also there are a few nods to the TV show, such as having characters like Glenn in the game and Herschel, and it completes the backstory for what happened to Sean Green in the TV show. But fans like yourselves who joined the game without knowing the TV show, it doesn't totally exclude you, and I think that is a really tough skill to do. So it's one that I will give hats off to Telltale throughout. And this is quite a mixed game in the sense that as I look back, I always sort of say actually the game is fairly more linear than it kind of makes you think. But there is, like you say, a giant soft spot for this game, and it always will hold a place in my heart because I think it was, nearing a decade before, Heavy Rain was the last game like this that I kind of had. And it just, I was crying out for a game like Telltale's The Walking Dead, and it came at such a perfect time, in gaming, right before sort of like The Last of Us and GTA 5 came in. And yeah, like I really enjoy the game. And it's interesting as well because a bit of backstory about how Jack and I met. It was at uni. We were in the same halls together, and I don't know how you clocked on, mate. If you just took one look at me and was like, "This guy plays the Walking Dead game," but you kind of just we were in the lift together, and I was just kind of minding my own business, and then you just said like, "Do you play Telltale's The Walking Dead game?" And my eyes. My eyes lit up because, like, that is the kind of game where I've tried forcing it on my friends. No one else really played it, or they played it and thought, man, it wasn't that special. So, like, to actually talk in depth, someone about this game, it's kind of like, the early version of the channel where I'm just reflecting, just unleashing all my thoughts about this game. So, yeah, I mean, just a quick disclaimer there. How did you know I would like the game?
Well, I'll tell you right now. So this goes to show how far back this was, because I did have a smartphone back then at uni, but I was still in the habit of going on Facebook, like on my laptop. And I remember going on Facebook, and I don't know if it's still like this now, but do you remember when, like, it would have, like, down the side of the screen, it might have, like, pages you like, with pages other people like, and I swear you liked a page about a character from Walking Dead season 2. But anyway, it said Liam likes this, and I was like, shit, because as you said, like, these are quite niche games. Not everyone plays them. It's not like mainstream. I think it's like the tier underneath, isn't it? I was like, next time I see it, I'm gonna bring it up. And I probably did it in quite a poor way, but nonetheless, it's just really good to like have other people that like play this game, because it was thrust upon me out of nowhere, and it just sort of set me on the journey that I've been now, where like I'm a big fan of choice-based games. And I know that these Telltale ones, the branching narratives, they're not really sophisticated, are they? Like, it makes you, it's better than Last Stop. But like the illusion of choice, it's it's not exactly fantastic, but nonetheless, I think it's a very good story game, and looking forward to getting into it.
The classic menu with like the kind of flies in the background and kind of like the grasshopper and cricket sound effects. It's so iconic, like even just looking back at that. And then it throws you straight into the first scene, which we always remember, quite symbolic, with Lee starting in handcuffs in the cop car, right?
That's it, yeah.
Obviously, you've got the really iconic moment where you've got the zombie that comes out on the road and it causes the car crash. And I love this in the game. It starts real slow and then it just throws you in a forest with zombies.
No, I really like this start to the game. Like you say, very slow, and it obviously serves as a nice tutorial as well. Not that it's that involved in terms of like the gameplay mechanics, but obviously you've got the dialogue choices, and you've got like the little navigation system where you move the cursor around, like very point and click style, isn't it? And
it is, yeah.
Even just, although you're like there with the cop briefly, and I don't know, like there's just something about whether it's the voice acting, but it felt very authentic to me. Like, I think they did a very good job, like whoever that was voicing, and even the same with the guy who voiced Lee. I can't remember the guy's name. I should do, because he's in the Batman series as well. But yeah, like props to like the voice acting in this, and I think like that it considering it's not hyper real graphics, the voice acting and the other things like the music and stuff really go a long way to demonstrate the seriousness and the very dark themes that this game covers, actually. Also, I swear that the bit where the cop comes alive as a zombie, and he's
Yeah.
crawling towards you, and you get that shot where you see the shell on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm convinced I actually died first round playing this game because you're suddenly put into first person mode, and I remember looking and picking up the shell. I just never thought to look around. I was thinking, what do I do? Can I just get up and walk away? And you had to look left, didn't you, to pick up the gun? I just completely didn't. I just didn't do that. So I think I remember like first time playing, like the guy then just getting on top of me and killing me. I was like, oh, fuck's sake, I'm already dead. No, yeah, nonetheless a good scene, and obviously, yeah, you then head off into Clementine's garden.
It's really tense as well, especially, I have to consider that, I'm 26 now. I would have been 16 when I played this game, I guess. And it was quite tense, when you have to pick up the keys for your cups right in front of the mouth of the dead cop. And I remember it really getting to me, and like the moments were so cool. And then, one thing that I will sort of consistently mention, but it is ridiculous how many times Lee will fall over, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know it's one of like the main things that has always been said about the game, but Lee falls over way too much. It's like he knows he's going to escape, but he's like, oh, I've got to make it look a little cool for the cameras. So he'll just like, if there's like a branch on the floor, you just fucking know that Lee's going for it to trip over. Like, oh, who put that there?
No, you know what? Like, I never realised it until I started watching it back, and I was just like looking out for it, and I was like, damn, like this guy does fall over a lot. I know he's got a bad leg at the start, hasn't he? And it's sort of like it can be forgiven, but even does it like later on in the chapter, it's like, fuck, Lee, like your balance is all over the place.
Yeah, and this is the bit that the demo would show. So I played this bit to death. So at this point, kind of the immersion was a little ruined. I kind of knew every option. But yeah, I really like the scene. Really good intro to meeting, the second or potentially the main character of the series. Yeah, loved everything about this. You've got the tree house, especially when you break in as well. I think the most iconic thing for me here, it's got to be like the creepy voicemails that the parents leave Clementine on the phone.
Oh, definitely. I'm glad you've brought this up because I was certainly going to. But yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah, essentially, it's just obviously Clementine is probably terrified of these zombies walking around. She probably doesn't know how to operate the phone because she's only 8, I think, at this point. And yeah, like you play them yourself, and I remember like being 16, and this actually kind of saddened me a lot that Clem was abandoned. You learn about her parents being on holiday, and then like there's 3 voicemails, and they get progressively more anxious and horrible. And essentially in the last one, her parents are crying, saying, oh, the dad's been bitten or something, or there's banging on the door. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but then that like they're just basically, she's crying, the mum's crying her eyes out, telling Clementine she loves her. And I don't know, this whole voicemail just, it really got to me. But yeah, I'll move to you, mate. What did you think of it?
Absolutely loved it. It comes back to the voice acting and the music, but sometimes, and it's something that I'm probably going to say quite often in this series, that Telltale did a bloody good job at achieving like an emotional pull in this game. And for me, something as basic as listening to these voice messages really goes a long way to do that. I think sometimes when you're not necessarily seeing what's happening, you're literally just listening to what's happening. That can be equally as powerful, if not more powerful, because your imagination does the rest. I think when you've then got the context of the little girl who's abandoned, and presumably she hasn't listened to these messages, so you're like armed with this knowledge, and therefore like you can't help but feel sympathetic towards this little girl. I thought it was a really nice touch, actually, and a great way to kickstart the game in many ways.
Completely agreed, and I'm glad you mentioned the music and the score as well, because it is really pulling, and it really goes into that emotional angle you said. I really didn't expect to be wrapped up in a game quite like this. Like I say, Heavy Rain was the last game that made me feel things, and then like 5 years or whatever it was went by until this game comes out. And yeah, just the score on like the third voicemail that comes in, and there's a few bits throughout the series as well, just like whether it's like the creepy pianos in episode 4, or kind of like the sort of lovey music where you're talking to Carley in episode 3. There's just loads of key moments, even the badass rock one when Lee's doing his like final charge, towards the Marsh Hotel. The score in this game, I do think, is fantastic. Probably the best in the series. But yeah, you're going around the house, and obviously, you retrieve this walkie-talkie, and you start talking to Clementine, who you're getting to know, and you're like, they do a great job, don't they, of making Clementine just like the sweetest character. The whole theme of season 1 is about protection and teaching this girl, helping her, and the game just does really well by making you just really like fall in love with this girl who's abandoned, just like, yeah, I need to protect her. She's like the most sweetest, adorable thing, with her baseball hat and her voice and just her quirky dialogue, and it really makes you feel like a father throughout the game. Like, I'm a 16-year-old kid from England playing this game, but I felt like a dad, and I was just like, if anyone laid a finger on Clementine, I would literally get enraged.
Yeah, it's good because like you say, it gives you like a paternal instinct, doesn't it?
It really does.
On a character level, it's so good for Lee that he finds Clementine, because obviously he's about to go to jail, right? Be locked up for life or whatever. He's been given this second chance, and I think that him finding Clementine and being like a dad figure to her, it just gives him like a purpose.
Agreed, yeah.
That's really what the crux of this game is about. It's sort of like him coming to terms with what he did, but like putting his energy into keeping this little girl safe, which I think was actually addressed quite nicely early doors.
Of course, and on your first blind playthrough, it's really epic, isn't it? Like, when we come back to it, we're probably like, we're really blasé about it because we know what the choices do. But the first time you play it, you are really worried about whether people find out about your past, what you did, the fact that you're not her real dad, the fact that Clementine wants to know where her parents are, and then, like, these things do play on your mind throughout the game, and then it becomes harder and harder to put a lid on. And as characters start finding out about certain things, and I think the game really does it well, the way it kind of slowly reveals that. But afterwards, we do move on to, like almost like the first jump scare, I guess, where you've got the babysitter who jump attacks you. And this is like probably one of the most iconic parts of the game for me. Just that first, I guess second zombie that you kill, right? Where she attacks you, where Lee falls over the pool of blood again, banging his head. I don't know how it didn't concuss him. It kind of does from the blurry vision. But yeah, then you've got Clementine that comes out at the hammer, and you get the really gruesome kill where you see its eye fall out the socket. Jack, what did you think of this whole fight scene?
Yeah, no, it was a good scene. And it's good that they go to the level of gore that they do. I suppose for me, I look on it as from a QTE point of view. It is remarkably easy. I'm not going to bash it too hard because this is going to sound really it's going to just sound really harsh and patronising, but I do look at this game as a more simple game compared to the Supermassive ones. So almost I expect more from the Supermassive QTEs than I do from this game, for example. They don't necessarily achieve that in the Supermassive games. It is just spamming buttons and that, like this as well. But I never felt like I really had a difficult time playing The Walking Dead, doing the QTEs. I wouldn't say I had too much sort of dread or jeopardy, unless of course it was a situation where you're having to quickly pick items up, like I said earlier on with the gun and the shell and stuff. But
the next bit we get to is our first sort of choice, really. It's not one of the major 5 at the end of the scenes, but you can either go out at day or night time with Clementine. I know we were speaking a little bit about it earlier. Am I right in remembering that you don't really remember which one you picked? Because it is a decade ago, so we can't hold it against ourselves here. There are a few choices where I might forget the answers.
Yeah, so I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that I would have picked Let's Go Out in the daytime. Because why would you go out at night?
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, I'm quite a big horror fan, and it's horror knowledge that zombies are more prominent at nighttime. So I went out at day 2. But we've got 2 sort of nothingy characters, really. Sean Green, who we'll learn more about, and then you've got this guy called Chet. The fun fact is, if you go out at nighttime, you're greeted by, I think, Sean and a cop instead. I might be wrong there. But yeah, they escort you back to Herschel's farm. So not too much is different, but it is a fun fact to know that if you do go out at night time, you see Chet as a zombie, and Chet will be one of the people that tried to come for the car.
No way, I didn't know that. That's the thing with these. I'm not as clued up on these as I am with the the supermassive ones. So there's going to be little things in here that surprise me, but I quite like that.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, just a little fun thing there. But either way, like a lot of these choices don't usually matter a whole lot. But you get to Herschel's farm where we meet Herschel from the TV show. And, like for anyone who's played this, they'll know that TV Herschel is a lot kinder than Game Herschel. Game Herschel's a bit of a dick. So I get you are on his farm, so he probably has every reason to, because he's, trying to look out for Clementine because he has his suspicions. But he's your first real figure who really starts questioning Lee, like, big time about who you are. So yeah, what did you make of, like, Herschel and his prying there, Jack?
Yeah, it's interesting because that sequence takes place in the barn, doesn't it? But actually, like when you first meet him, and I think what is good here, because these are sort of the first people that you're encountering in like I suppose a safe environment, so you get downtime to talk with them. But the guy helps you out with your leg, like he's like, oh yeah, let me get to that, wrap it up, and make sure you're good. Which I think is such a great setup for later on, because it thinks, oh, you know what? Yeah, I can trust people in this world, like, and all this. And
yeah,
obviously we won't go into it, but later on that can bite you in the arse. But no, like in terms of referring to that barn scene, yeah, like he does get slightly aggressive with you. The way he chucks down that pitchfork as well. I don't know if you saw this in the game, mate, or if it even happened for you, but the way he chucks down the pitchfork, I think, God almighty, like, what have I said? It's like, he gets suddenly, like, sort of mildly aggressive very quickly. But, I suppose, yeah, he is the figurehead of the place. Why he cares about Clem so much, I don't know. But then again, it is just a little girl, so he's probably just looking out for her. But, yeah. He's sort of one of those ones, you don't love him, but I wouldn't go as far as I hate him.
Of course. I mean, I guess afterwards you kind of just get the downtime, like you said, at the farmhouse, don't you? And this is the point where you really get to meet all the characters. And of course, this is where we meet Kenny, Duck and Catcher.
It is, yeah. And quick, weird little side note that I noticed. There's a bit during this scene where Ducky goes, Dad! And it just reminded me of Bobby from The Quarry. Travis! I really like these bits because it's just great for characterisation. Like, you have these chats. Kenny's telling you about how he's like a fisherman. Catcher's telling you about how like she's a veterinarian, or she wants to become one anyway. Funnily enough, like Laura from The Quarry, another little connection. But yeah, like that's something that they really excel at, Telltale, creating characters, and each one that you meet so far, it feels like they do have their own unique voice and unique personality. It's not like there's one that's a copy and paste job, for example.
Of course, yeah. So like Kenny will be a lot of people's favourites throughout the series. He's kind of like your bro, he's family man. Very mixed though, and I think he's really well written because he's not a perfect person. Catcher probably like you're level-headed, but a bit of a bland character, I would go as far to say. And Duck's another mixed one. He's lovable for some, he's annoying as fuck for a load of others. So yeah, it's subjective, and throughout the series we'll tell you how we get on with those guys. But I guess, mate, are you happy to move on to the first choice to talk, to do with Herschel, where you speak to him in the barn?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did you lie to Herschel?
I was honest with him.
Yeah. See, I was honest as well, and I swear that I previously told Sean that I wasn't Clem's dad either.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? That got relayed to him. So I was like, well, there's no point lying. You might as well just sort of stick to the honest narrative.
Yeah, I thought, like, as a kid, I was really, like, tied up. Like, oh, do I lie? You know, and to be honest, I might have done. I can't really remember. It was a decade ago. But the thing is that he's kind of rude with you either way, in the sense that if you lie, he's like, look, you're gonna have to like be honest, or people will catch on to you. And if you're honest or whatever, then you're gonna have to sort of say, oh, look, you might want to lie a little bit. You know, you were in a cop car, mate. So it's like, what do you want from me, Herschel? How do I escape this?
Yeah, it's like Eliza. You're not happy either fucking way.
Yeah, like, I get you your tarot cards, you still have a go at me, now you're going to haunt me in my dreams, apparently. Fuck off, Eliza.
So in my game, like I imagine the majority of people did, I went to save Duck. What I find funny though is like Duck's clearly done something with the tractor, because like Sean has somehow got stuck under there. He's like, I can't move. And he was like completely fine before. So yeah, I saved Duck, and it just, the way it pans out, it's so funny because Sean has obviously done some shoddy ass job fixing that fence, because like one land and like they're just straight in at him. But like as soon as you grab Duck, Kenny's like running off camera with him, and Lee's just sort of like stood there for a second. And then like after the event, when Herschel was having a go, Lee's like, oh, I thought I could save both of them. And he's like, look back at the clip, and like the guy's just standing there. Like he's not doing anything. He's just letting the zombie munch on that guy's leg. So yeah, Sean was the one that was doomed in my playthrough, mate. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, when I first played the game, I went to save Sean. Now, if you go back, you know Duck's the right one to save, because you can't save Sean. Sean will die here. Big mystery of the TV show, why Sean Green's a walker in the barn. Because if you didn't know, Herschel, in the show, keeps loads of zombies in the barn, because he doesn't have the heart to kill off his family. So he just puts them all in a barn, and Sean's one of them.
Ah, right. Okay.
So there's a bit of Sean backstory for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went to save Sean because I was like, at the end of the day, Duck is like in a more freeing position. He's just got his like neck caught or whatever, and I'm like, Kenny can get on that, or like he can break free. But like Sean was straight up under a fucking wheel. I'm like, this man needs help. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know what the fuck Duck was thinking. I know he's not like the brightest kid, and he was getting a little excited. But while Sean's trying to build a fence, he's just like yelling at him, like being the foreman or whatever. And like the kid pulls the fucking handbrake. Like, that is serious. Like, I'm not saving you, Duck. So obviously, like in my very first playthrough, Kenny was a little hostile for me at the start, but we did make up for it later. But yeah, the last thing I kind of have to mention about this whole scene is, how the fuck did no one see the zombies coming? They're on this massive farm.
Yeah.
You can see miles, and these three zombies at the same time come. And like, honestly, if I'm like, Sean or Duck, in those positions, I would see the zombies a mile off. And he's just hammering a fence to letting them get all the way to him, to the point where like, and then at that moment, Duck conveniently runs Sean over. I'm like, oh my god. Neither of these guys deserve to live in the apocalypse.
No. Well, I mean, they're obviously some sort of special ninja zombie or something. I don't fucking know, because like you're absolutely right. Like, I don't know how they wouldn't see them, but. And
then this whole chapter ends with Herschel saying what my dad told me when I came back from uni.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah. So obviously you then hit the road, and you go to the town where Lee said his parents and family, brother, etc. are all based in, is it Macon or something? Yeah. Yeah. And of course, no longer you're getting out the car, you suddenly thrust upon by a load of zombies, and you end up running into a drugstore where you actually meet some more characters. So we meet Lily, Larry, Carley, Glenn, and Doug, and it really doesn't take long before things start heating up in there, because we meet our antagonist, I'd say, of the game, Larry, who doesn't hold his punches, who straight up says, right, Duck's been bitten, we need to shoot him in the head.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, because I get the kid kind of was on the floor, and it looks like he might have got a bitten during the ordeal. Which, by the way, I must have a little side note here. Kenny's a fucking idiot when, like, there's just a man, under a truck or whatever eating something. The guy's clearly not a human. And
Yeah.
Kenny's like, oh, over here, come and help. And then, of course, like, all the zombies come. It's like, oh, Kenny, what are you doing, mate? Like, no survival instinct whatsoever. But yeah, and then, we get 5 characters, don't we? And I must say, the moment you sort of hear the gunshots and you see the lady in the white t-shirt in Carly, I think that might have been my video game crush at the age of 16. Poor old Liam, who, could speak to 2 females, one being my mum and the second being the dinner lady at school. Carly was a big deal to me as a kid. So yeah, like this scene was iconic to me.
What is it with you with girls and guns?
Oh, what? Laura being the other
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently I have a type, guys. But yeah, and then obviously, like Jack said, we get this whole deal, and yeah, Larry was a fucking prick here. I mean, I know I'm saying that a lot, but a lot of these characters are just so much like these caricatures of just the worst kind of person. He's just like a kid who's not even being bit. He's not even checking a bite. He's just like, oh yeah, guys, we need to toss him out. It's like, oh my god, he is like 8 years old. What are you doing?
No, it's so true. And it's like, how many times did Katya have to say, he's not been bitten, I'm just cleaning him up? This guy's like, no, we need to throw him out.
I really don't like children. I hate children. Throw him out.
So obviously, it spills into a situation where Kenny and Larry are, about to get fisticuffs, having a pop at one another, and you have to choose who you back, don't you? I mean, it was very easy for me, mate. I was gonna stay loyal to Kenny at this point, but it's funny. Like, I actually vaguely remember when I was playing this for the first time on the iPad round my mate's house, and before I started the game, he said, "Always stay on Kenny's good side." So I actually did go into this game with a little bit of bias for Kenny, but I do think I'd have picked that anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the people who pick Larry are either people who wanted to see what happens on the second playthrough to see if you can win Larry over, or just people who actually need to seek help. If you sided with Larry and you're going to try and justify that, yeah, not a good. He tried to like throw a kid out, just like it was a very easy option for me. But yeah, and then obviously I just want to say as well, there's this scene here where Clementine's trying to call for your attention during this fight, isn't she?
That's it, yeah.
And then there's like, she wants to go to the bathroom and you're just like, oh, just go. And then, a zombie comes out and nearly kills her. And I'm just thinking, did no one check the fucking bathroom for a zombie? Like, I doubt it crawled through like the air vent or it found the back door. Like this, I don't know how long they've been in this gas station. I don't think it's confirmed. But yeah, how the fuck do you not scope every room and then just leave a zombie in a toilet that an 8-year-old girl's going to go into? It's like, oh man.
It's so true, and something from that bit I noticed as well, like, I know sort of like it's all very new to Lee, being like, a default babysitter or whatever, but Clementine spends a lot of time on her own in this chapter. Like, even when I was walking around as Lee in the drugstore, Clem just sort of sat there on her own. She wanders off, and because obviously, you're playing as the lead character, you're going to do the bulk of the stuff, right? But you've literally just met this little girl, you're promised you're going to look after her, and you just sod off doing mini missions and like doing things without her, just leaving her like with complete strangers and stuff.
I guess you get the heart attack scene, don't you, which completely diffuses the argument. And what a way to get Larry off the hook, give him a heart attack so we can't be mad at him. But I think it's interesting as well because you've got, he's got his daughter with him, doesn't he, Lily, who I find a fascinating character and one who, I actually sympathised a lot with throughout season 1. But this gives us our first kind of like, well, not first because we had it at the farmhouse, but our second free roam section, which probably takes up nearly half of the game. But yeah, you get the whole freedom bit, don't you? And you get to just talk to all the various characters. There's mini missions, and I quite like the section going around the pharmacy, especially considering of Lee's backstory here as well, mate.
Yeah, no, what I would say, like, in terms of like picking up objects or examining objects,
Yeah.
there's not, like, I'd say a good 80% of the time the things that you look at like bear no sort of relevance to the game anyway. But I did like the fact that you could wander around and like pick things up like energy bars. And I remember when I first played, my instinct was, you know what? 'Cause I think I picked up 3. I was like, I'll give 1 to Clem, 1 to Duck, and then there was like a third one. And I was like wandering around, like having conversations with the characters, like whether it was Lily, Larry, whatever. And in the end, I think I just ate it myself.
Nice.
So I was like, nah, you know what? I need to keep my energy levels up. I'm doing a lot of work here. So I just kept.
I gave one to I gave one to Clementine because I was like, why wouldn't I? I gave one to Duck because I felt a little bad about trying to save Sean, and we did have a conversation, me and Kenny. He was like, no, I understand, and we made up for it a little bit because he really respected the fact I had his back when Larry attacked him.
Oh yeah.
And then me being me at that point was like, Carley, have an energy bar.
Yeah.
And she didn't want it, so I gave it to Lily instead because I was like, oh look, your dad's a dick, but I don't hate you. So yeah. But what I like about this section is that there's different parts to it. You can do this little battery solve for Carly looking at this radio while she's trying to fix it. There's helping Doug outside as well. There's a whole section there. There's a whole thing where, by the way, yeah, Glenn from the TV show goes to try and get like supplies or gas or something. And you can have, there's this massive section saving him. And then there's this bit in the back room. So I guess we'll talk about all those 4. Is there any one of those 4 you want to start with, mate?
Oh, it's got to be the motel. I'd probably say that this little sequence was my favourite bit of the entire episode, actually. I really liked it. A, because it was like you're in stealth mode. But B, like I really liked the intelligence of the characters and the various things you were doing. So like you lean around the wall and you can pick up a pillow, and Carly's like, what's that gonna do? Which, to be fair, you can't blame her for saying that. But then later on, you like go around the other edge of the wall, and there's a zombie there, and he's like, bring the gun, and you can like do a silent shot to kill the zombie. You can then squash a zombie by pushing the car. You can kill it with a screwdriver after, then obviously you get axe kills. It was just really good, and then obviously you get like this moral dilemma to sort of end the whole sequence when this woman comes out that Glenn's been trying to save, and to be fair, like in all fairness to her, she was saying, leave me alone, don't come here, sort of thing. And that's obviously because she'd been bitten, she knew she was going to turn. But of course you then give her a chance to give her the gun. I cannot remember what I did, mate. I'm pretty sure I would have given her the gun.
I didn't. I was like, nah, these are my bullets.
Oh, that's great.
And then she's like, oh no, come on, give it. And then she's like tussling with you on what it's got to be the weakest construction job ever. And then you all fall down. And luckily for her, everyone gets up all battered, but she's got the gun and she pulls it herself anyway. And it is really dark. But yeah, this whole... and it is that whole moral thing, and I think that probably split a lot of people 50-50 because, if I was to do it now, I might have given her the gun. Some people don't want to live in that apocalypse world. It literally is like a living nightmare, and sometimes, you could argue that's the nicest thing to do, give them a mercy kill. But yeah, this whole section, I really like as well. I think I remember it so well that I could probably do it off by heart, like first time, like really quickly if I tried. Firstly, when Glenn comes out, he says, oh, I'm holed up, I need help. He clearly doesn't. He's like in a door thing by himself where there's no zombies around him. I don't know if he was attention seeking or what, but yeah, what the fuck, Glenn? Secondly, I really like that line where when you break Irene out of her room, she's like, oh yeah, like it's going to happen to me as well. If you're bitten, you turn. It's what happened to my boyfriend. And then Glenn's just there like, you've got a boyfriend? Like that was his take from it, and I just thought that was a really funny scene. But yeah, overall, really good section, mate.
Kicking a woman when she's down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did we want to jump over to the one with Doug?
I think this is one where I initially went in the room to say hi to Doug and that, and then I had to come back out. And Doug's quite a lovable character, you know, he clearly doesn't belong with the others. He's quite like a techie, geeky guy, and like Lee doesn't fully get him. But yeah, like I really enjoyed this section. Obviously, you've got your brother across that you recognize, and you're trying to keep your backstory quite private, so you don't necessarily tell him he's your brother. But I think you need, like, is it batteries for the remote or something, like, or the TV remote or something from, like, the back room.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had to go back and forth from this. But when you complete the whole section, it's brilliant. I love, like, having to solve everything by, like, spotting everything around. It's, like, a nice use of the point and click interaction. Then you've obviously got to break the window or turn the TVs on, but that doesn't create enough noise, so you've got to break the window as well. And then that gives you time to go over to your brother to get the keys, which is like the final puzzle really to get out back, which is what you need to do. Yeah, like overall really, really high opinions of this section as well.
Yeah, I really like the puzzle element. I mean, it's not exactly difficult, is it? Because, you know, the brick's right in front of you, and do you know what I mean? You wander around, you find the batteries soon enough. But I do like the puzzle element in this particular section. And the fact that, again, they're very good at throwing these emotional moments at you, like when you sort of see the name tag on the drugstore assistant, and that being that it's Lee's brother, and you can see that he's like holding all this emotion and stuff. And then it's funny, like he does go over though, and then he has to like kill his brother, and Doug's just there in the background like, have you got the keys? Lee just turns around, he's like, shut up, Doug. And actually, I don't know. I don't really feel that much for Doug. I don't know what it's about the guy, whether it's just like the look of him, or whether it's just I don't think he's as strong a character. But it's funny because you literally grab the keys, and then Doug shouts out, "Holy crap, run!" And literally no zombies. They were all still over by the TVs, you know, distracted by
Facing forward, yeah.
And like as soon as he does that, they then start turning around and walking towards him and Lee, and I'm like, Doug, what are you doing? Like that signalled his death for me.
I'm so glad you mentioned that thing because I forgot to. But yeah, like the zombies are fine, and like there's nothing that changed, and they're just going, holy crap. And then yeah, just like everyone like go like, oh, there's a guy over there who's just yelled out. Otherwise, the other sections we get really, I mean, there's two sort of more. There's the backroom bit with Clementine, isn't there, where you can kind of, she asks a bit more like, oh, why were you in a cop car or something? I can't remember, but then, you know, you can be honest with her. And I was like, yeah, I've killed a man. And she asked, oh, was he bad? And I said, yeah. Because I was like, I know it's a 8-year-old girl, but I just want to be honest, you know, like, yeah. I know maybe she's not old enough to make her own decisions to see whether that's good or bad, but I was like, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go for an honest playthrough. And then it's at that point as well where Carley comes out, doesn't she? And she's like, yeah, I'm a reporter. I know exactly who you are. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit like, oh, God, like, this is bad. But she seems to take it quite well. Like, so yeah, it's good. It's like, it cements Carley as this really nice ally you have. Yeah, what did you make of this whole section with the back room at the pharmacy, mate?
Yeah, I can't remember if I was honest with Clem or not, but then I figured, well, what's she going to do about it anyway? She's going to stick with me, like, in the game. It's not like she's going to run off or anything. So, by the by, I'd like to say, I probably was honest with her. As for Carley, yeah, I thought for a split second, I was like, oh, is she going to be like an antagonist here? Like, you know, because she has this information on you, she could like hold stuff over you. But like you say, like she holds herself up pretty well. She's like, look, you know, I'll keep quiet about it. You know, it's probably a good thing that you're a murderer because, you know, that's what we need at the moment. So, you know, I'll keep my mouth shut as long as, you know, you don't get out of line sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, that's completely fair enough given the circumstances you're in. So,
speaking of Carley as well, like there's the whole puzzle you can do while you're free roaming. I think it's optional, this one. But yeah, the girl works for a radio station and she can't turn on a radio, and it turns out there's no batteries in it. And you know, you get like a nice playful like, you know, inside joke about it later on throughout the game. But yeah, you have to like find these batteries for her. And me being the 16-year-old simp I was on that immediately. Like, I gotta get you your batteries. Yeah, not much comes from it. It's just that she, like, I think hears something about a colleague dying, so she gets a little bit sad about it. But yeah, like, it's just a nice little fun thing to do. Nice bit in her character arc as well. You know, she's like this kind of shooter badass girl who's really level-headed. However, you know, maybe lacks some, you know, street smart, you know, kind of traits. But yeah, anything to comment on, or are you good to go for the final bit where you try and open the back door of the pharmacy to get Larry his pills?
No, I'm happy to move on to that bit, mate. So yeah, fire away.
Yeah, so behold, you try and open the door to get the nitroglycerin pills, and it sets an alarm off, which causes the whole of like Macon almost like zombie-wise to come to the pharmacy, and this is where you really get the ending of the game, the big horror moment where the zombies are banging on your door, and it is quite tense. I remember it, you know, being a little spooky as a kid. You know, and you, Carley, and Doug are trying to like shut the door. Everyone's going out. Kenny's prepping the car. He takes your axe, I think. You know, and then Clementine finds your dad's cane to hold the door. So, you know, you lose your father's item, which is quite sad. But then, mate, it comes to the big choice of the game, doesn't it? Which character do we have to lose first? So yeah, like there's Doug being pulled out the window, and then Carley's foot's being grabbed out the back door while she's trying to reach for her purse where, you know, her ammo is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I know what you picked, Jack, but what did you pick, and also why?
I straight up saved Carley because I was just more invested in her character. She had a gun, and yeah, obviously like Doug before, I don't know, I could see him almost being an inconvenience and a bit of a liability. I don't know what it is, why I read that in his character. Maybe it was because he was shouting out earlier on. My version of Lee's got some weird PTSD earlier on from him like shouting out when he's like bashed his brother's head in. But yeah, I chose Carley. I was like, yeah, I want to keep her around. Obviously, he does say it again, doesn't he? He's like, oh, I was going to try and save both of them. Like, Lee, you've said this a couple of times now, mate, and you've failed. But yeah, I picked Carley.
Obviously, you know, for me, I picked Doug. Nah, okay, I picked Carley. Yeah, like I say, third female I, you know, spoke to ever. I wasn't going to squander my opportunity. Yeah, it's quite sad because it's a gruesome death. Like, if Carley dies as well, it is actually quite a gruesome one if you pick Doug, where, you know, like, she gets, like, a zombie, like, bites, like, her jaw out. And, but obviously with Doug, you know, he gets pulled through the window, proper, like, Shaun of the Dead style, where his, like, insides get ripped out, and it's, like, you've got the horror moment, and you know, you do really feel for Doug, because I didn't hate him here. He was a nice character, one that's also designed on one of the Telltale staff members, I think, which is quite cool. But yeah, I can't remember if Clementine has to see that one as well. But then, yeah, quite a sad moment. It's not one you have. You know, there are a lot of 50-50 choices in this game. Like, do you want to save character A or B? And it does suck. You know, you want to aim for that perfect cast, but alas, someone does have to die here, whether it is Doug or Carley. But anyway, yeah, then you're going to escape, aren't you? And then you're met with a fist to the face, aren't you?
Yeah, you get a fist to the face, like the worst timing. Like, you know, I've tried to get your drugs, Larry, to make you feel all right, and this is what you do to me. But yeah, thankfully Kenny's there, isn't he, to give you a helping hand, literally. To
really cool shot as well. With you know, you think he's gonna axe you in the face, like, Kenny, what are you doing? And then there's like a zombie right next to you.
Yeah, no, it is good, and then obviously that preempts the escape, doesn't it? The escape from the drugstore to ultimately head back to the motel area where you was earlier on, right?
Yeah, that's it. And then it's the conclusion of the game where you can just talk to all the characters one more time. Larry eyeing you like evilly at the back. There's not much to say here other than Glenn says bye so he can drive away and be a part of the TV series.
Yeah.
You've got Carley, who sort of is there in hindsight, like, could we have saved Doug? You know, admits she had a bit of a crush on him in a dorky sense. Then you've got Duck giving Clementine an earful, and at this point, I'm really losing patience for Duck. I get he's just a kid, but like you've got Clementine who's traumatized here, and then Duck's just trying to just chat her ear off, and I'm like, Duck, mate, come on.
Duck hasn't got game.
Yeah, Duck has not got game. But then again, I didn't with Carley, so who am I to judge? And then obviously you've got Larry at the back, and then it's revealed that Larry knows exactly who you are, and that you're in a cop car. So yeah, like probably the last guy you want knowing your secret knows it, and it's quite a really cool conclusion, because we have to remember that this game was episodic, and I played them as they came out, so I had to wait a long time before every episode. So I'm there waiting for months, like, oh, what is Larry gonna, is he gonna like out me? So yeah, it was really tense, like those periods where you have to wait every month after a cliffhanger. But anything to mention for this finale of A New Day, mate?
Yeah, because I know obviously, like, yeah, the power goes out or something, doesn't it? And then it like cuts to black. But I'm glad you raised about the whole thing of them being raised episodic, because I mean, when I played this game, obviously they were already out, so I could go all the way through. But I've played Telltale games where each episode was released every 2 months. And I just wonder, like, mate, how would you feel about that now? Would you still love that? Or would you be like, nah, they need to come out more frequently? Maybe like one a week or something like that?
Oh, I love the wait. If I skip ahead to season 2, I think it's episode 3 or 4, where it ends in a massive shootout. And then it ends on black, and then, you know, with the Americans and the Russians. And you're sat there for months wanting to know who's dead, who's alive. And, you know, the tension builds up for months, and you have sleepless nights trying to think, like, oh, what's happened? I love that. I think it's so good from a suspense point of view. I mean, how about yourself?
I've got to admit, I think that, like, don't get me wrong, I'd do the wait and everything, but God, I'd think that'd be so long now. Like, I don't know if it's just because I've got that, you know, we've got this culture where, like, you want everything now. But, like, I wouldn't mind the wait. I wouldn't mind having, like, that little period of, you know, speculating, wondering. But for it to be, like, 2 to 3 months, I feel like my enthusiasm would wane. And I'd be like, oh, come on, just release the episode now. Like, if it was, like, 2 weeks, I'd be all game for it. But other than that, yeah, if I'm being honest, I'll probably...
Yeah, I mean, maybe now that I'm a working man and, like, you know, I've got less time on my hands, you know, but back at school, I remember, like, quite liking the waits. But you are probably right. I think I would have a lot less patience for it now.
But yeah, I mean, mate, unless you've got anything else to add, then we can wrap up this episode.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with that. Thank you for joining, guys. Obviously, like, you know, this is a really special game for us. We hope it, you know, like the game means something to you guys as well. And if not, you know, that this was a fun podcast for you to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you know, we can put up the 5 main choices on screen. So if you do remember your playthrough, or even if you're playing the game right now, put your choices in the comments section. And yeah, like Liam said, hope you've enjoyed it. We're really glad to be moving on to Telltale for a little while now, and we'll see you in episode 2.
See you in episode 2, guys.
Bye.